And rounding out my coverage of all of the classes in Space Marine 2, we have the Bulwark. Perfect class for people who don't like pushing a whole lot of buttons. First, know your role. Your job is to channel your inner Gandalf, decide on a specific spot on the map, and make it yours, no matter what. Alternatively, for the 3 people who played Age of Reckoning, think about it like you're a Black Orc and you're playing Morcane Temple. Grab the thing, hold the thing. First, perks. I can see the Bulwark going a couple different ways here. This is the one that I'm settling on, just for general utility and being able to contribute somewhat to damage. Starting things off here with Intimidating Aura. Perfectly timed parry deals area of effect damage within a 5-meter radius. Admittedly, that's not a terribly large area. However, so much of your kit and sustainability revolves around getting those perfect parries, so may as well make it work for you a little bit extra. The other options here have potential. Conviction. You can take less health damage after your armor is fully depleted, or Forward Momentum. Deal extra melee damage after a shield bash. I have had a couple people telling me that this one feels bugged. I haven't been able to replicate that in my own testing. Your mileage may vary here. Wouldn't surprise me if it's bugged, considering the state of perks overall. We'll see. Next column. After the 3.0 patch, I feel like there's really one clear choice, and that's Shock and Awe, which makes enemies in a shock area take 25% more damage. That's not just from you, that's from the entire team. I mentioned the 3.0 patch here specifically because the other 2 perks, Armor of Contempt and Scrambled Targeting, have to do with ranged enemies. Armor of Contempt making you reflect damage into the things around you, and Scrambled Targeting making you take 20% less damage if you're in a throng of enemies. Since they've nerfed the accuracy, likelihood of targeting you if you're in melee, and damage of ranged enemies, these 2 kind of lose some comparative value, I think. Next. Defensive Advantage. Perfectly timed parry creates a shock area for 5 seconds. Cooldown is 30 seconds. I like this one because it has some synergy with these other 2 perks, although you might also get some use out of Steel Within or Armor Reinforcement, which give you less health damage when you're already busted, and armor pips on any gunstrike. For the team perks, I would say you've really only got the one choice, and that being Advanced Conditioning. Contested health fades 50% more slowly for all squad members. That's huge. Over the course of an entire run, that's silly amounts of extra regen. When you compare that with the other options, which are slightly faster armor regeneration or 20% less health damage from terminus enemies, I feel like this one's the clear winner. Next up, we have Focus Strength. Shield Bash knocks enemies back and makes them lose control for a longer period of time. Admittedly not world-altering, but compared with the other 2, which are Rapid Regeneration, making the banner restore faster but last less time, or have Shield Bash do more damage, this one seems to offer the most utility. For this column, you've really only got the one choice, disregarding bugs of course, or you're trolling, or you don't know better. In the latter case, welcome, here's the correct choice. Invigorating Icon. When the banner is activated, all squad members regain maximum contested health. Historically, this one has been plagued by bugs where it would give you the benefit even if you don't have it. For the sake of this record, you really want this effect, so keep an eye out on whether or not it's bugged. If it is, maybe take advantage of the bug. If it's not, you want to take this perk. I might get some disagreement on this last column here. Personally, I'm a fan of Rejuvenating Effect, which lets you revive down teammates just by dropping your banner. Again, I've spent way too much time in action RPGs, so if I get the opportunity to have an e-break in my build, I'm going to take it. If you don't share that opinion, well, that's fine, I guess. And you can choose between either 10% less damage to everybody in the banner, or do 10% more damage so long as you're within the banner's AoE. For signature perks, these are all kinda meh overall. I'm going with Emergency Countermeasure, which drops the shock field at my feet every time my armor gets broken once every 2 minutes. Again, not world altering, nice when it happens, whatever. You could go with Defensive Mastery for a perfect parry, incapacitating a Majoris or Extremis once every 2 minutes. Sure, fine. The one I think might actually be undervalued by the community is Armored Advance. Or maybe I'm just the one undervaluing it. I don't know. I need to test more. This one says, if you have armor remaining, you do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and you cannot be knocked back. Considering the amount of armor regen that's possible with this class, I feel like this could counteract some of the downsides of being in the middle of a swarm. If you've played with this one a lot more than I have, and you have strong opinions about it, let me know down in the comments. Help us all out here. More information is usually better. Next. Secondary, since you don't get a primary. You have the option of the bolt pistol or the plasma pistol. So realistically, you have the plasma pistol. Going with the same build as always here on the plasma. Bottom tree leading up to the top and the little squiggle down here. Faster cooling, perk that's really not likely to happen with the plasma pistol, but it's cool when it does. Extra damage on a charge shot. Extra radius on a charge shot. More radius on a charge shot. Faster charge speed, even faster charge speed. extra ammo. For me, I'm going to take the extra ammo over extra radius after a perfect dodge, since the primary function of the plasma pistol for me is getting those quick charging cross-map interrupts on Majoruses. Reinforcements suck, stop them from happening. Next, melee weapons. I'm of the opinion the power sword is the clear winner for the Bulwark. Yes, personal preference exists. Talk about that in a second. The Bulwark is the only class that gets the power sword. Thus far, at least. So, it stands to reason that the entirety of the moveset is balanced around the Bulwark's kit. Yes, it's a little bit more to wrap your head around. Take a look at the combos here. Air Thrust and Whirl Slash will let you swap style without having to manually charge the heavy attack to do the flick to change it out. It's great for preserving your mobility and keeping things fluid. Easiest way to do that, tap dodge, hold a heavy attack. Power Whirl is worded a bit poorly, I think. So, let me make a quick edit. There we go. So basically at any point in time during a light combo, you just stop hitting a button, wait for the glow, and then hit heavy. It's great. Once you can really wrap your head around those two concepts, the power sword opens up and you become a whirling, lightning-encrusted deity of death. It's great. Further, the backstep into light attack AoE is your friend. Use it. Gives you some space to get some gun strikes to regen armor if you need it, provided you're not just going to parry some Minoruses. Oh, also, something I'm particularly guilty of, you can shield bash. I tend to forget. Also, before anybody gets carried away and thinks I'm using the block sword here, I just like the skin on that one better. I'm still using the fencing one. On stats, since you're going to be using power stance when you're dealing with hordes, cleaving potential really only applies to the damage you do to each, not your ability to cleave multiple targets. So, the reduced cleaving potential on the fencing sword is largely irrelevant here. When you're in speed stance, the 7 speed is plenty to carry you. Perks for the power sword are pretty simple and generous in terms of options. You can either go all the way along the bottom tree, or you can pick up these top 2 pips and then follow the rest and then just not take the Manowar Slayer at the very end. Depending upon whether you want to take less range damage after switching stances or do more melee damage after switching stances. I would really like to be able to do this top tree to get the extra damage and still keep Manowar Slayer, but unfortunately that's not possible. So, bottom tree here gives you extra melee damage, reduced range damage for 5 seconds after swapping stance, extra melee damage. This one is confusingly worded. It says, while in power whirl stance, you do not lose control upon taking heavy hits and you cannot be knocked back. This only applies while your character is pausing and you're waiting for that glow on the sword before you hit your next input. It does not apply after you've hit that second input and you're in the attack animation. It's confusingly worded, saving you some headache. Extra combo on your power style. Again, I would really like to be able to go up this top tree to get the extra combo on the speed style, because I feel like extra single target damage is really nice when you're dueling the Majoruses, but here we are. I still haven't decided which version I like better. Melee damage against Tyranids. After killing 10 enemies with the light combo, you don't lose control on heavy hits and can't be knocked back for 5 seconds. Okay, sure. Cutting Edge. Power Rake deals 50% more melee damage. Considering you can chain into this from most attacks and do 2 of them back to back, that's a nice damage boost. Extra damage against Extremis. Extra damage against Majorus. Lots of extra damage against Minoris. So especially on the heels of the Assault video and all of the love for the Power Fist and statistically incorrect statements, I feel like something kind of needs to be said here. At the end of the day, you bought the game. Play it how you like. The entire point of a game is to enjoy it. You want to use the Power Fist, even though it's not necessarily the best option mathematically for the classes that can use it, just because you feel like Superman punching a Hellbrute is cool, by all means, go for it. Rock on. Again, you bought the game, play it how you like. Within reason, of course. This is a team game after all, and our choices impact other people's play experiences. The kicker here is, be honest about why you're choosing it. You're choosing it because it's cool, and you know and accept that it's not the optimal choice. Fine, own that. Gold star, go for it. I'm a fan. But you don't get to pick something that's mathematically worse and then try to convince everyone else that it's on par with or better than something that is demonstrably and factually better. If you just like the moveset more, that's fine. Different weapons have different skill floors and ceilings. Totally acceptable. If you're not willing or able to put in the work to raise your own personal skill ceiling, that's fine too. Be honest about it. Frankly, that was a good chunk of my early levels with the Bulwark and why I had such a hard time with it, because I had a real degree of difficulty understanding how the power sword was supposed to work. And after sitting with it and examining my play and seeing what worked and what didn't and what I wasn't doing correctly, everything else made so much more sense and the class was much more effective. So I guess, that's a really long-winded way of saying, Yeah, there's other options. Yeah, you could use them. I mean, there's no real reason to stop being a disappointment to your childhood hopes and dreams of making good choices. I mean, now, right? I mean, you've already got all of this momentum going. So that's your setup for the Bulwark. Realistically, in-game, you want to go find the biggest clump of dudes in the smallest area, get in front of them, drop a shock field, take a few steps back, and then just say, no, this spot is mine. Work on your perfect parries, which admittedly is rather difficult with the Bulwark until you really develop the muscle memory to really just tap that button. You know, unless you enjoy accidentally blocking and getting staggered by things that you should have parried. No, I haven't done that hundreds of times leveling this up. Why would you ask? And that covers most of the basics here. Get proficient using the dodge into heavy to swap stances, and learn your positioning. You can carry your team to victory while being functionally immortal and playing like an apothecary, since you can use the banner to give everybody full health on an execute. As always, if you have thoughts, questions, or disagree with any of the points I've made here, leave it down in the comments. This wraps up all the classes. I think coming up next, I might take a look at some of the off-meta choices for weapons, and Gav and I might lean a bit more into streaming. If you want to hop into some of those games with us, keep an eye on the channel. I will do my best to get streams posted ahead of time, and we'll get some runs in. I've been Bald Squid. I'll see you next time.